Manuel, did you know that 82% of small businesses that fail do so because of poor cash flow?
And really alarming about it.
It's an alarming number, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I don't want us to be part of that statistic, so we're going to dive into an analogy that makes this topic easy to understand, the water tank analogy. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a heads up. We're going to cover the basics today. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Clear Accounts with Gerry. Cuentas claras con Gerry. I'm glad you're joining me today. Most of our episodes are in Spanish, created especially for our Latin American communities, which is often underserved when it comes to practical advice and tools for success. But through this English version, I also want to give our friends and customers who speak English a window into what we're doing and how these conversations can help any small business owner improve, grow, and thrive. For those that don't know me, I spent over 20 years at companies like Kraft Foods, Philip Morris, and 7-Up, learning and managing the financial and operational secrets that drive these large corporations. And for the past 15 years, I've learned to apply those same principles and also adapt and expand to help small businesses like contractors, clinics, bakeries, and others become stronger, more profitable, and more organized. As a business owner myself, I know how it feels to lose sleep over numbers that don't add up. That's why I founded Optimum Business Services, to help small businesses use the same winning strategies that I have learned and adapted and expanded that the big companies use without the complexity or confusion that often accompanies it. So, as every episode, we're going to be talking about how to take control of your cash flow, how to manage taxes, compliance, how to organize your business and operations, and more importantly, how to get results without confusion or complications, which is very important. So whether you're running a family business, a startup, or simply want to learn how to manage your money better, you're in the right place. Hit the subscribe button and let's grow together, one clear conversation at a time. Welcome to Clear Accounts with Gerry. Cuentas claras con Gerry. I have with me the distinguished Manuel from Entire Marketing. Manuel, how you doing?
Hey, Gerry, how are you doing? This is Manuel Pacheco, founder, Detour Maps and Entire Marketing Group. Excited to start this podcast, talking about cash flow.
Now, long term, one of the questions that I know you have asked me in the past, and you can ask it again, is what do I need to do if I'm starting a business? If we're setting it up from a complex standpoint, what are all the little things that I need to do to get a business? Okay. We will talk about that, but I think it's important to start with the basics and then move up. So we don't want to lose anyone from an interest standpoint. We are going to cover such things as, do I need a business plan? How do I set up? What are the key things that I should consider when I'm setting up a business from a cost? And how doing that will help me to avoid getting into this kind of problem.
Yes, and thank you for mentioning that, Gerry. I was just concerned how to cover so many things in your industry. When you give me that number about the 82% failing, it's really worries me. And I think it's a smart idea to start with this water tank analogy. This is going to be really good information, I promise. So, Gerry, please take your time because this is really important, and I really want to help all the community with this.
Excellent. We had a discussion prep room. And I think it's a good question. Why did we do this water tank analogy? Well, we're Latins, and in our countries, we have in tops of our roofs water collecting systems, collect the water
Yeah.
so that we can use.
Sorry to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but the ones are when you travel to Indiana or other
Absolutely.
states,
You
you
see
see
them.
those farms
Yeah.
with those big tanks.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same.
That's the same thing. They
Yeah.
collect water because they need the water for a variety of reasons.
Mhm.
So let's think of water as our resources for our business. Okay. So imagine that your business has a water tank. Money is coming in. That's water. Okay. Those are
Mhm.
sales. You can get money from loans. You can get money from refunds. That's water. That's a resource. Money going out would be rent, payroll, materials that you need for your business, paying for taxes, electricity, the telephone,
Utilities.
internet, you name it,
Uh-huh.
all those expenses that we have on a day-to-day basis. So we have the water. It's sitting in the tank. If we're not doing anything, it's sitting in the tank, hopefully. So if you use the water, obviously it goes down. But to make it even more interesting, your water tank has two primary valves.
Yeah.
So think about them
Mhm.
as two valves. One of them is one that you can control, the flow of the water out. That we're going to say is variable costs.
Okay.
We'll talk about that in a minute, but that's a variable cost. The other one keeps dripping out, and there's no valve for it. Why? Because those are what we consider fixed costs.
Okay.
So what's a fixed cost? A fixed cost is like your rent. You have a contract. You make a contract with a owner or landlord.
Same payment every month.
Every month.
Okay.
And you make that payment, and regardless of whether you sell or not, it has
Mhm.
nothing to do with the flow of the water in. It's just constant dripping out. A variable cost, on the other hand, you can control. You can control payroll. You can determine whether you have some people working, how many hours, that sort of thing.
Inventory.
Inventory you can control because you are the one that decides how much you need in terms to sell for that month. So there's things that you can control and there are things that you cannot control. That doesn't mean that things are out of control. It just means that you have to stay aware of them. And that brings you back to the question you had about this 82%. Why? Because what happens is, let's use an example. You are a doctor, all right? You have a small practice. You have a lot of patients. You're doing great. They're seeing you. Those patients are coming in. So there's your water may or may not be coming in because a doctor is a unique individual. They depend on other individuals to pay them, not the actual person that's coming in. Many people have private insurance and many people have government insurance. So they depend on the insurance to pay them.
Okay.
So when you come in to see them, they provide the service, they have their lights running, they have their computers running, because they have to use their computers to know data about you. They have their telephones, their fax machines, their internet, all of that is working to provide services to you, along with other people that run in and out to check your heart, check your temperature, all of that. The thing that they need to stay on top of is the collections, because that's the source of the water. And have to be on top of the fact that they have a lot of fixed costs. There are very, and fixed costs that go with a doctor's office. We don't not going to go into the entire list today. We will in another podcast. But to give you the example, you have those things. You have some things you can control. You can shut down the office, or you can turn down the lights, or you can, adjust the temperature in the waiting rooms. Those things you can do. So very important to know that if you don't have good controls, primarily on the source of water, how it comes in and how often it comes in, you can bet that you're going to have all these expenses that come. And before you know it, you run into what I consider the danger zone. And we're going to talk about it in another podcast. You get into those danger zones and you ask the question, how do businesses fail? How the 82% of those businesses that actually do fail do it because of cash flow, because they are busy running their day-to-day activities
Operations.
and the tank is drying out.
I just wondering, a lot of us business owners sometimes very focused on execution, right? Um, but now listening to you about the fixed cost, I think we just need to understand, what is our total fixed cost, how much we need to get every month in order to cover that, plus our variable cost. So if you add on those two, that's what you need to survive every month,
That's correct.
right?
That's correct.
And
That's
we need
correct.
to make sure we're doing our sales and collecting.
That's
So
correct.
that will keep our water tank healthy.
The water tank healthy. That is good. That's a
Yeah.
good analogy.
Okay.
That's
All
a good
right.
analogy.
So I thank you for staying with us. This is a really, really healthy conversation for your business. So keep connected.
Thank you.
Okay. If you think you were doing good, time's up.
Yeah.
Give us a like.
Yeah.
All right. We will come back in a minute.
Talked about fixed and variable costs. So what about examples of fixed and variable costs? So let's say you are a restaurant owner.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the fixed costs. There, we discussed them.
Mm-hmm.
There's your rent. If you're renting, you have your internet. You have your telephone system. You have your monthly payments for contractual obligations that you have with regards to lighting or other things in your restaurant.
POS systems.
Yeah,
Yes.
you have
Yep.
mechanisms that exist for running your business on a day-to-day basis that's based on a contractual obligation.
Mm-hmm.
Also to add, you have insurance, you have workers' comp, and other obligations that you have with the state of Illinois, for example, where we are located, but in other states that are fixed in nature. Variable costs are, well, you need a certain amount of plates, starting with the basic stuff. You need plates to be able to serve foods and items, or you need containers for having the customers to take
Take
the
it
items away.
out. Mm-hmm.
So, and you have the dowels, you have the forks, the knives, all of those items is stuff that you have to have. Now you might, have an idea how many you need. You have a number of tables. It sits so many people, and you have an idea of what you need in terms of plates. And those are variable costs because you can control that, right? Other variable costs are the meats or products, the chicken, pork,
Mm-hmm.
the veal, sauces, the fish, all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
Those are things that you purchase based on your estimation of how many people are going to come in and how many dishes you're going to be producing. So that's a variable cost that you can manage. Okay. Other variable costs are the number of servers that you're going to have on a given day. Those individuals that come and greet you or sit you down or ask you for what you're ordering.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you also have the menus. You can control the number of menus and what you want to deliver to the customer, but those are costs that you actually control. You also control the ovens and the temperatures of those ovens, and you control also the gas that you're going to consume for that. You have to do that in order to run your business. It's not fixed so that you are going to have to pay the same amount of gas all the time, but there's elements to gas that are fixed. There's a service charge that comes whether you use the gas or not. Those are things to consider.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Okay.
there's the things that are actually fixed also is keeping tabs on what you're collecting. Because in a restaurant, you collect cash, you collect income. But since you're in a service industry, you are a general merchandiser. For example, in the state of Illinois and in many other states, you have a thing called sales tax. And the sales tax is something that you are collecting on behalf of a government agency. It is not your water. It belongs to the state. So you have to consider that as a variable cost that you must control, but it depends on how much you're collecting or how much you sold. Okay. Another variable cost would be the amount of items that you're bringing in, or the cleaning supplies, or the things that you need in order to take care of a spill or water damage, or fix the gas grills or maintain them, or the hoods that drain the noxious fumes out of the
Right.
restaurant.
Those companies probably that offer the cleaning carpets as well. Some restaurants they
Absolutely.
have it
That's
for
a
the
fixed
kids.
cost
Yes.
because
Yes.
they come. Or
Okay.
they provide linen. You might want to put fancy linen on the tables.
Exact. Yes.
And so you
Uh-huh.
have an agreement with them that they're going to provide so much of them on an ongoing basis for you to use.
That's a really good educating part for our restaurants buddies.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
that's
the
great.
restaurant needs to now for their purposes. Now you talk about in long term, what we want to focus on in the future is you should budget for those things because you, as a restaurant owner, you, the individuals that run that business, know that these things will be needed. Now, if I want to have fancy tables and I want to have fancy plates and I want to have good cutlery,
Uh-huh.
you have to budget for that
Mm.
because things will break in a restaurant, things
Yeah.
will rip, cloth will be stained, somebody drops wine on something. You
Yes.
have to have a budget or a plan to manage that. This is what we're going to talk about things that you spoke about earlier.
Yes.
How do you
Mhm.
plan for these things? So you as a business owner know these things. Now, when it comes to water tank management or cash flow, you got to keep an eye on ordering too much of that stuff, not having too much of it on
Oh,
hand because it's going to affect other expenses that you need. So,
you need to be aware of that.
yeah, you might be excited to buy these fancy, napkins or things, and you
Uh-huh.
want to buy a lot of them. But remember, that's going to take away from something else that
Yes.
you need to spend on. So it becomes a complex process, but not complicated. It just requires discipline. Discipline is one of the things that an accountant would know. Discipline in terms of how many things I need. How often do I need them? Why do I need them? When will I need them? And how much will they cost? Those are the things that an accounting or someone that's managing a budget needs to understand because those are relevant.
Right. Well, now that you just mentioned, I can empathize with business owners that probably are um, they're running operations because they are taking over a restaurant for the family, and probably the family they've been used to, I don't know, purchase a lot of those napkins in a storage for many months or years. In its money thing.
It's money.
And this one of the reasons it's good to have an accounting with the experience about the restaurant industry. And you're talking about the variable costs. I would like to go a little more, just a little bit deeper in the variable cost for a restaurant. Any other things that you think it can be a profit for the restaurant that consider in variable cost?
Well, it depends on the restaurant and what they offer.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's say a restaurant offers liquor or wines or
Oh,
beer. That's the
that's
variable
another.
cost that you
Yeah,
have to maintain
and it's
because
really expensive.
it's expensive. And particularly some products, although they have a longer shelf life, beer, you don't want to buy excess quantities because beer does have a shelf life. It goes down in time.
Mm,
Wine, also, you have to maintain it in a certain temperature in a certain room, and you have to have so many. If you're offering a particular variety or you're offering a, special wine that you want to manage, so you have to make sure that you have enough on hand to manage your business, but you don't also want to buy more. Or to your point, you might say, "Hey, I got a sale. I can buy
oh,
1,000 bottles now," but you
yes.
have to maintain those bottles. You have to control those bottles. You have to make sure that they don't,
Okay.
deteriorate. So there's a lot of variable costs in that area, and also for liquors. Liquors is a very complicated area because you have to control it.
Okay.
How do you measure how much liquor you have and how much do you need? It depends on, again, you have to go back to these planning tools, to these mechanisms. You have to maintain some sort of control on how often you're buying them, how often you're getting rid of them, and if does it make sense to you. For example, scotch. You may measure the bottle to make sure that Every time that you're using it, you control the level of it
Uh-huh.
so that you know that so much has been consumed, and you make measurements. And because you could have, in a situation, 5 bottles of scotch consumed, but were they really consumed? Were they really used?
I don't
It's
but
there's
I
a lot of
understand.
controls that you need to
Yes.
maintain,
Okay, okay.
and it's easy to lose control of those expenses.
Mm. All right. How about if we um switch the industry? We kind of go over the restaurant. Do you think we can talk a little bit about just to end up this podcast with the contractors?
Sure. I mean, contractors as an industry, I mean, that's a very interesting situation because there's multiple varieties of contractors. So I'm going to focus on one that I know
Hmm.
on a regular basis is electricians. Are contractual electricians, businesses that do heavy work. What do I mean by heavy work? Well, you might have a factory, and in that factory you have equipment, obviously, and
Hmm.
those equipments need maintenance, repairs, and they need new machinery and equipment. So let's say you have a line that produces, even going back to the baker. The baker will contract somebody to help them put together a line.
Oh, okay. To install all that big machine. All
Yeah,
right.
so the big machine, let's say it's a big machine to make rolls,
Uh-huh.
you know.
Uh-huh.
So that machinery requires sensors and pulleys and electrical
Oh, okay.
connections, and they need to make sure that they have regular electricity. They might even have heating elements. They might have gas and other things.
Mhm.
The contractor said, okay, hey, install this line, repair all the things that I need for that line. Can you make sure that I have all the electrical? So they have a contract. They generate, okay, based on in their review, they walk up and down the facility. They look at the equipment that you have. They analyze where the electricity is coming from or where it's the sources of electricity. And they have to then determine what's going to be needed.
Okay.
So for them, variable cost is really the job. That
Oh,
job determines the variable cost. Okay,
okay.
for this bread line, I'm going to need so many adapters. I need so many plugs. I'm just generally
Exactly.
adding.
Yes. Uh-huh.
I'm going to need so many generators. I may need some pulleys. I need some other equipment that I know is needed from a generating standpoint. I may need some heating elements. So I know that these things will be needed from this particular equipment. Then I need to make sure that I can order them. I should be able to know what the cost of those things are, and then I will estimate a price for that
Hmm.
person. And then I go about contracting people. I may go buy the supplies directly. I may work with the customer to order the supplies, or I may contract a third party to come in and order all the supplies. And then I bring other people that are electricians that know how to work on that segment of the machine because it might be someone that knows how to do heating elements and someone that may know how to do pulleys,
And helpers to
and
move those big machines.
exactly. So you are involved with that. And those are variable costs, not fixed. Fixed in terms of when you have a fixed cost for that industry, well, you got all the insurance requirements. You have
Okay.
to have insurance requirement for that. You have to have licenses and you have to have a supply sometimes of these materials on hand because it's going to recur. You might run into a situation that even though the machine is different or the equipment is different, many of the components, the parts that are going to be needed are going to be the same. So you should have them because you're running into the job. You want to get it done in a certain period of time. So you want to be able to pull from your supplies to
Mm-hmm.
be able to manage that.
Okay. Okay. Interesting about the contractors, guys. Oh,
Contractors, there's all kinds of contractors. There's another one that's very common to people, auto repair.
yeah.
An auto repair is a contractor. Why? Well, because they are in the business of providing services to you in terms of fixing something on your car. But they don't know what it is they're going to fix yet because you're coming in with the problem.
Exactly. Yes.
They need to analyze the problem. And they have
Mm.
to determine what it is that's needed. Then they have to go out and buy those supplies. Or if they're smart and they do this on a regular basis because they know that this is a component that breaks down a lot, they will have inventory on it.
Right. Or like by the season, right?
Exactly.
Sometimes, winter is going to be tires or
Exactly. You might
brakes.
have tires.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And you have batteries.
Uh-huh.
Those things you are going to keep. Those are variable costs, but they also can become fixed because it depends on when you're going to use those batteries and the cost of them
Okay.
and how many you maintain and how many tires you maintain. Or you might have contracts for constant supply. So in other words, I put 4 tires in, then you have an arrangement with a third party, another person that's a contractor. Then the minute you put 4 tires in, you order 4 more tires.
Right.
So that you have a continuous supply.
Okay. Okay. Because with the years, I have the experience, like you were talking about a few minutes ago, to buy what you will need for your coming season, which is really important. Well, I hope all this information, it was really helpful for you guys. I find it very interesting learning every day with Gerry, about all those details with accounting and financial.
We're having fun. And I
We,
hope that you are enjoying it too.
I'm pretty sure I find it very interesting. Okay. We're going to be diving next episodes with other topics. And Gerry, I really appreciate your time, your knowledge about this, and sharing this information is really appreciated, from the bottom of my.
It's my pleasure. It's something that we do on an ongoing basis at Optimum Business Services. And we're more than happy to continue to share our knowledge with you. Thank you for your time. Gracias.